Hello everyone. In today's video we are going to learn why does TCP not perform well in ad hoc wireless networks. So we are going to learn why TCP does not perform that much well in ad hoc wireless networks. So let's get started. The major reasons behind throughput degradation that TCP faces when used in ad hoc wireless networks are the following. So these are the reasons why TCP does not perform well in ad hoc wireless networks. First one is misinterpretation of packet loss. Means we are going to misinterpret the packet loss. Means there are various reasons for packet loss, right? So we are going to misinterpret that reason here. The first reason, misinterpretation of packet loss. Traditional TCP means basic elementary level TCP protocol was designed for wired networks, means guided networks, where the nodes are connected using wires. So in those wired networks where the packet loss is mainly attributed to network congestion. Here even in wired networks the packet loss occurs, but it is mainly due to network congestion. Network congestion in the sense this occurs because of the wires between the nodes. Here network congestion is detected by the sender's packet RTO period. How this network congestion is detected? By using this RTO period. RTO means receiver timeout. This is the period which is calculated and it is maintained by the sender. Sender will estimate this time, because sender have this information, right, when it has sent the packet and the round trip time delay. These all information will be within within sender. So it will on this timer, receiver timeout error will occur whenever network congestion occurs. Basically sender will on a timer which will be set to a particular time level, that is the round trip travel time and plus delay, some delay. It will, if within that period our acknowledgement has occurred from the received by the receiver, which has been sent by the receiver, then there is no network congestion is occurred. If this time has, this RTO has already completed, then network congestion is detected. So then the packet loss will be occurred. Once a packet loss is detected, the sender node assumes congestion in the network and invokes congestion control algorithm. Once if the packet loss is detected, the sender node assumes there is congestion in the network, right? The congestion may be due to some other reasons, but the packet loss may be due to some other reasons, but the sender will assume it is due to the congestion only in the network, and so it invokes the congestion control algorithm, which is the basic important algorithm in TCP protocol. Ad hoc wireless networks experience a much higher packet loss due to the factors such as ad hoc wireless networks. These are the networks which we are talking right now, not wired networks. It will experience higher packet loss due to these factors. What are those? We are going to see now. High bit error rate. We all know bit error rate, right? Bit error rate is the ratio of number of error bits by number of transmitted bits. Bit error rate, high bit error rate in the wireless channel. I have already told you the bit error rate in wired channel is very less, whereas in wireless channel it is very high. Increased collisions due to the presence of the hidden terminals. We have this hidden terminal, exposed terminal problem in the wireless communication, right? Wireless channel. So the collisions have been increased due to this hidden terminals. Presence of interference. As we are transmitting in a wireless channel, not only a single transmission takes place at the time, there are multiple transmissions, right? So this increases the presence of interference. Location dependent congestion. Depending on the location also the contention may occur, right? Unidirectional links. Unidirectional links means those links which will support only transmission and reception in one way. Those are unidirectional links. Frequent path breaks due to the mobility of nodes. As the mobility of the nodes increases, the path breaks and the network configuration also changes, topology also changes, right? So this will also leads to packet loss, higher packet loss. And the network and the internet fading properties of the wireless channel. As we all know that the internet facility in this wireless networks, in this wireless channel is very less, right? If for suppose if you get if the climate is not good, if it is a little bit rainy also, we will not get that much good net, right? So this network fading issues is also a problem in wireless channel. So these are the major problems, major factors which leads to higher packet loss in the wireless channel. Those are high bit error rate, increased collisions due to presence of hidden terminals and exposed terminals, presence of interference, location dependent contention, unidirectional links, frequent path breaks due to mobility of nodes, and the internet fading properties of the wireless channels. And the next issue is frequent path breaks. As we all know, ad hoc wireless networks experience dynamic changes in the network topology, right? Due to the unrestricted mobility of nodes in the network. Ad hoc wireless networks experience dynamic changes. Dynamic changes means it changes a lot because there is no restriction on the nodes mobility. They are not ruled. I mean, they are not in the boundary. They are not at all in a particular protocol. They can move anywhere. They can go anywhere, right? So the mobility is very high. This causes frequent path breaks. The topology changes leads to frequent changes in the connectivity of wireless links. As the topology changes, it leads to the frequent changes of the connection which has been established between the wireless links. And hence, the route to a particular destination may need to be recomputed very often. For suppose if you consider there has been an established route to a particular destination, but in the middle there is at some point where the link has been broken. Because of that link, the route must be recomputed, right? Because of that, the connectivity also changes. The responsibility of finding a route and re-establishing it once it gets broken is attached to the network layer issue. As we all know, routing protocols and the route establishment, route table, these are the issues of the network layer. They have to maintain it, not we. So the responsibility of the responsibility which is caused due to the frequent path breaks, whether it may be finding a route or route table updates or re-establishing a route, these are the problems of network layer, not TCP. Once a path is broken, the routing protocol initiates a route re-establishment process. If you see, if a path is broken, the routing protocol initiates a route re-establishment process because the sender must transmit data packets to destination, right? Because of a link brokerage, it can't just stop it, right? So a new route must be calculated. So for that, we are initiating this route re-establishment process. This route re-establishment process takes a significant amount of time to obtain a new route to the destination. So it consumes a little bit amount of time, which is significant enough to cause much delay. It takes a significant amount of time to obtain a new route to the destination. As the link has been broken, so a new route to the destination must be calculated. This is done by route re-establishment process. This route re-establishment time is a function of the number of nodes in the network. As we all know, route re-establishment time, the time required to calculate a new route for the destination, it is a function of number of nodes in the network. Transmission ranges of nodes, number of nodes in the network. What are the number of nodes that are in a network? That must be known to this. Transmission ranges of the nodes means a particular node can transmit to how many other nodes. That is transmission ranges of nodes. Current topology of the network. As I have told you, due to the dynamic behavior, the topology of the network also changes. Bandwidth of the channel, which is very important. Traffic load in the network. and the nature of the routing protocol. Nature of the routing protocol. If the root re-establishment time is greater than the RTO, as we all know, RTO is the receiver timeout period. If the root re-establishment time is greater than the RTO, retransmit timeout period, receiver timeout period, if the root re-establishment time is greater than the RTO period of the TCP sender, then the TCP sender assumes a gain congestion in the network and retransmits the lost packets and initiates the congestion control algorithm. As I have already told you, this is in the session of misinterpretation of the packet loss. If a packet is lost, which is identified this receiver timeout period, if this error occurs, the sender immediately assumes there is a congestion and it initiates the congestion control algorithm. This will happen means the sender will retransmit the lost packets. These retransmission can lead to wastage of bandwidth and battery power, which will indeed cause a resource wastage, right? Eventually, when a new route is found, the TCP throughput continues to be low for some time. You see, the throughput will change from time to time, right? So eventually, after finding a new route, the throughput also continues to be low for some time, as it has to build up the congestion window. Since the traditional TCP undergoes a slow start process, as I have already told you in my previous video, traditional TCP, there we will see the slow start process or exponential growth process. In that time, the throughput of the TCP is very, very low. This is one of the reasons. The first reason was misinterpretation of packet loss. Next reason, frequent path breaks. Next one is this effect of path length. The path length, effect of path length. Path length in the sense the length from sender to the receiver destination. It is found that the TCP throughput degrades rapidly with an increase in the path length in string in the sense linear chain topology ad hoc wireless networks, as shown in the graph. I'll tell you. As you all know, if you consider a network where there are number of nodes, as the distance between the network, as the distance between the destination and the receiver nodes increases, the distance covered also increases. So this path length increases the delay, right? So here we will see how it will happen and affect the TCP protocol. The possibility of path break also increases with the path length. As the path length increases, there are number of nodes between the sender node and the destination node, right? So the path length increases. So there may be higher possibility for path breaks too. Given that the probability of a link break is, let us consider the probability of a link break is PL. PL means probability of link break. The probability of a path break is PB. If a link breaks, then path breaks occur, right? For a path length of K. This is the path length K. Where you can obtain this probability of path break is PB is equal to 1 minus of PL whole to the power of K. Right? As you can see here, we have this graph, right? In this x-axis, we have this path length. Path length means number of hops. As I have already told you, 1 hop, 2 hop, we know that, right? So, number of hops. TCP throughput. Throughput decreases, gradually decreases as the path length increases. Number of hops increases, the throughput decreases. Throughput is usually in bits per second, whether it may be megabits or kilobits. It is bits per second. See, it gradually decreases as the path length increases. Variation of the TCP throughput with path length. This is the formula. PB, path break, is equal to 1 minus of PL power K. This is path break, probability of link break. Link means between two nodes. Path break means it is between more number of nodes, which is a function of path break is a function of link break. and the path length. As we all know, probability's highest value is 1. So here the formula includes 1 minus. This figure 2. The figure 2 shows the variation of PB, path break, with path length for PL. Path link is equal to 0.1. We have considered this as a basic one, 0.1. Hence, as the path length increases, the probability of the path break also increases, resulting in the degradation of the throughput in the network. As you can see here, see on x-axis we have considered path length again, number of hops, probability of path break. Path break increases as the number of hops increases. See, for 2 it's nearly less than 0.2. For 4 it's less than 0.4. As the path length increases, the probability of path break also increases, right? So it's a combined function of both path length, path break and path link also. So this affects the throughput of the TCP protocol. This is another reason, and the next reason is misinterpretation of congestion window. Misinterpretation of congestion window. TCP considers the congestion window as a measure of the rate of transmission that is acceptable to the network and the receiver. As we all know, we have this congestion window, right, where first we'll just keep a limit. There is a limit for the transmission also, data packets transmission rate. There is a limit which has to be acceptable by both the network and receiver, such that the receiver must not, it cannot tolerate it. The receiver buffer size must also satisfy this rate of transmission rate, and network must also satisfy this. So a congestion window is a measure of rate of transmission that is acceptable to the network and the receiver. In ad hoc wireless networks, the congestion control mechanism is invoked when the network gets partitioned or when a path break occurs. As we all know, congestion control mechanism is invoked by the sender, right? When it has been invoked when there is a network partition occurred or a path break occurs, right? If path break occurs, then the network gets partitioned, right? This reduces the congestion window and increases the RTO period, receiver timeout period. What this means, what this path breaks or the network partition reduces the congestion window. It reduces the value of the congestion window and increases the RTO period. When the route is reconfigured, route is re-established after the path break, the congestion window may not reflect the transmission rate acceptable to the new route, as the new route may actually accept a much higher transmission rate. Because of the route reconfiguration, the transmission rate may get decreased or increased. It doesn't know the transmission rate which is acceptable by the new route, right? So the transmission rate may be little less than the transmission rate which is actually acceptable by the new route. This will also occur. Hence, when there are frequent path breaks, the congestion window may not reflect the maximum transmission rate acceptable to the network and the receiver. So the network is utilized less effectively and efficient. Next reason, asymmetric link behavior. Asymmetric, as the name itself tells, asymmetric link behavior. The radio channel used in ad hoc wireless networks, as it is wireless networks, we will use this radio channel for sure, has different properties such as location dependent contention. The contention is dependent on the location, where there are more number of nodes, where the density is more. So location dependent contention is one of the major reasons. Environmental effects on propagation and directional properties leading to a asymmetric link. Environmental effects are more because of this wireless channel on propagation and directional properties leading to a asymmetric link. The directional links can result in delivery of a packet to a node but failure in the delivery of the acknowledgement back to the sender. In a directional link, you can just deliver a packet to the receiver, but you cannot accept an acknowledgement packet which has been sent by the receiver to the sender. It is not possible here in a directional link. It is possible for a bidirectional link to become a unidirectional link. A bidirectional link can become a unidirectional link for a while, for a particular period of time. This can also lead to TCP invoking the congestion control algorithm and several retransmissions. Several retransmissions means less effective utilization of the battery power and the bandwidth is consumed a lot. Next one is unidirectional path. Unidirectional path. Traditional TCP relies on end-to-end acknowledgement for ensuring the reliability. Since the acknowledgement packet is very short compared to the data segment, acknowledgements consume much less bandwidth in wired networks. As we all know, acknowledgement packet is very less in length and data segment is very, very large. In ad hoc wireless networks, every TCP acknowledgement, whatever it may be, TCP acknowledgement packet requires RTS, first request to send, CTS, clear to send. This will be sent by the sender, this will be sent by the receiver. Next, data acknowledgement exchange. In case of IEEE 802.11 is used as the underlying MAC protocol. In this underlying MAC protocol, we have this routine, right, of sending. The receiver will send, the sender will send this receive to ready to send, clear to send, data acknowledgement. This will be the routine, right? This can lead to an additional overhead of more than 70 bytes if there are no retransmissions. If there are no retransmissions, it will lead to a overhead, means we are sending these many packets at a time, right? There is less delay, there is less time gap between these packets. This can lead to significant bandwidth consumption. See, we are sending 4 packets, right? 4 different data packets, right? Data packets in the sense, whether it may be RTS, CTS or data or acknowledgement, these consist of some information, so it consumes bandwidth. So it leads to significant bandwidth consumption on the reverse path also, which may or may not contend with the forward path. If the reverse path contends with the forward path, it can lead to a reduction in the throughput of the forward path. If the reverse path also contends with the forward path, then it will lead to the reduction in the throughput. Some routing protocols select the forward path to be also used as the reverse path. There are some routing protocols where the forward path is used as a reverse path also, whereas certain other routing protocols may use an entirely different or partially different paths for the acknowledgements. So when a reverse path is used for both forward and reverse direction, when a path is used for both forward and reverse direction, then these many data packets packets are sent, information packets, RTS, CTS, data acknowledgement are sent, then the throughput degradation occurs. Some routing protocols select the forward path to be also, I have covered this. A path break in an entirely different reverse path can affect the performance of the whole network as much as path break in the forward path, right? A path break, whether it may be in the forward path or the reverse path, it affects equally, right? If in a reverse path the path breaks, acknowledgement will not be received by the sender. Then packet loss, it assumes packet loss, and then retransmission, right? This occurs, which has equal effects. Next one is multi-path routing. There exists a set of QoS. QoS means quality of service routing and best effort routing protocols that use multiple paths between a source destination pair. There is no such rule that there must be a single path between a sender and a destination, right? There may exist a multiple number of paths between a source and the destination, right? There are several advantages in using multi-path routing. Some of these advantages include the reduction in the route computing time, because due to path breaks we have to again compute the route, right? It will reduce the route computing time. The high resilience to path breaks, high resilience, as I have told you, path breaks, high call acceptance ratio, and better security. For TCP, these advantages may add to throughput degradation. Throughput will degrade. These can lead to a significant amount of out-of-order packets, which in turn generates a set of duplicate acknowledgements, DUP acknowledgements, which causes the additional power consumption and invocation of the congestion control. Because of these multiple routes, the packets will be sent multiple number of times. So duplicate acknowledgements will be generated for the same packet, which ultimately leads to the degradation of the throughput in the TCP. This is one of the problem. And then network partitioning and re-emerging. The randomly moving nodes means it will move randomly, not in a particular order, in the ad hoc wireless networks, can lead to the network partitions. Networks will break. As long as the TCP sender, the TCP receiver, and all the intermediate nodes in the path between the TCP sender and the TCP receiver remain in the same partition, the TCP connection will remain intact. Means they must be in the same partition, not in different partitions. The sender and the receiver and the intermediate nodes also. It is likely that the sender and the receiver of the TCP session will remain in the different partitions. It is likely means because of this dynamic property of the nodes, the receiver and the sender will be in the different partitions. And in certain cases, that only the intermediate nodes are affected by the network partitioning. Because of this network partitioning, the intermediate nodes also gets affected, right? This figure illustrates the effect of the network partitions in the ad hoc wireless networks. I'll show you the figure later. A network with the two TCP sessions A and B is shown in figure A at the time instant T1. Due to the dynamic topological changes, the network gets partitioned into two, as it's shown in the figure at time period T2. I'll show you. See here, at time period T1, the whole network is intact. See here we have a TCP session. As I've already told you, there will be many sessions. Session means nothing but data transmission and reception between two nodes. See, TCP receiver, this is a receiver, this is a sender for session A, and this is another session B for that receiver and sender. At time T1, they are intact within the same partition. After time T2, they are in different partitions, network partitions at time T2. See, session A has been in another session. Receiver is in one partition and the receiver and the sender is in another partition. But these two are intact. These two, session B, sender and receiver, are intact. At time period 3, we have again these are intact within the same network topology. So this is the effect of partitioning and merging of the network. Now the TCP sessions A's, sender and receiver belong to the two different partitions, and the TCP session B experiences a path break, right? There is a path break. These partitions could merge back into a single network at time T3, as we have seen here. Here there is no path break. Here path break occurred due to the network, due to that network partition has occurred. Here no path break. So this will affect the, this is the effect of partitioning and merging of a network topology in the TCP, which